So I've got my brush tool selected here. If you recall from an earlier movie, the keyboard shortcut is the letter B. And we need to maybe set this brush up. Now, the idea here is that we're going to brush inside this selection. And you'll see that this is a very small mark. This is going to take me a while to paint into this area. Okay, I don't want to take forever. I want to actually make this go fast. So I'm going to undo that, Command Z, and I'm going to, oh, don't forget, Control Z on the PC. I'm going to make my brush bigger. Now, let's talk about a couple of ways to get to a bigger brush. First of all, let's go to this pop-up menu over here. Now, you'll see this every time that there's a brush here. And so I'll click on this pop-up, and this has several things going here. These are your brush shapes. Now, we're going to start off by clicking on this very soft one, the first one. And we'll change the brush size here and crank this up to 65 pixels. Usually whenever I give you a number, if you get, within a couple of numbers, you're okay. You don't have to be, it doesn't have to be precise always. Okay? And now my brush is bigger, so I can paint over here, and it won't take quite so long. Of course, if I made this brush huge, well then it would go even faster. I'm going to undo that, and let's take a look at this again. Now this pop-up here, there's another way to get to it. I can actually do it from within the document window. If I hold down the Control key on the Mac, this would be a right click on Windows. This will give me access to these settings. So I can change it and maybe make this bigger. And notice how big my brush is. My brush size will change depending on the slider setting. So I could feasibly just do this, right? So I just quickly did a paint job across the whole thing. So I just undid that. And I wanted to point to a couple of other things here. Not only do we have a size setting, but we've got a hardness setting. Now for this, I think I'm going to go off to another file just for a moment just to show you this. So I'll go to a new file. The default Photoshop size is fine. Okay, and I'm going to turn off my mask here so you can just see the brush. Now this is a low quality document that I've done here. That's why my brush appears very much larger. So I can make this smaller and still make sense to you guys. Okay, so this is a soft edge brush at this point. I mean, if I just do a simple click, you can see that it leaves a very soft edged shape. Okay, but if we go back up here to the hardness value and I crank this up to 100% hardness, now when I click around, it's a hard edge shape. So obviously you can go anywhere between 0 and 100%, but those are the extremes. Okay, now I'm going to clean up my page here. I'll teach you that keyboard shortcut another time. So we've got the brush head shape, and there's lots of things there you can play with. I'm just going to point to the first row here. This is a hard edge shape, another soft edge shape. It's they're actually very similar. I really don't even know if there's a difference. I stick with these two guys pretty much all the time if I don't feel like moving that slider around. Okay, now let's talk about how to do this without going up here and without using that contextual menu like this. Okay, and the answer is, if I want to change my brush size, I'm going to use a keyboard shortcut. Now look down at your keyboard and find the letter P. Directly to the right of the letter P, there are two bracket keys. There's the opening bracket key and closing bracket key. Okay, now I'm going to hit the right or closing bracket several times, and look what happens. Okay, so I'm hitting, so this is the left bracket or opening bracket, and here's the right bracket. So if you go either bracket, it's going to make this larger or larger or smaller. Pretty cool, and you'll see the difference over here in this pop-up where it'll give you a numeric telling you what size, how many pixels across is the diameter of the brush. All right, now you can also change the softness of the brush by using a keyboard shortcut. Hold down the Shift key and hit one of the brackets. Now I want to make this, I believe this is a soft edge brush, so I want to make this harder. So I'm going to hit Shift, closing or right bracket. Makes it a little bit bigger. Makes it a little bit bigger. Shift, bracket, shift close bracket that is. Okay, now I've done this 4 times. And what happens is the keyboard shortcut will only allow you to do that 4 times to change the hardness value. Now, so this is clearly at 100%. Here's how it works. I'm going to hit Shift left bracket, so it's gotten softer. How much? I'm glad you asked. It got 25% softer. Okay, I'll do it again. Shift, in fact, I'll make a mark there so you can see it. Okay, I'll hit Shift left bracket again. You can see that it should be 50%, and it's a little bit softer again. I hit Shift bracket, left bracket one more time. That's 25%. Shift left bracket, and that's 0. Okay, so you can see a gradation of softness or hardness of your brush using Shift and bracket. Now, the last thing we want to talk about here are some of the options in your bar here. We will talk about these guys. These are called blend modes. Starting from here all the way down here. That's a topic for another time. The main thing you want to play with is this guy right over here. This is your opacity. Now if I click, in fact I'll make my brush hard here. There we go. And you'll notice that it is fully opaque, meaning you can't see through the paint that I just did here. Okay? But if I were to reduce this by a value, we'll call it, might as well do it in quarters. Close enough. Okay, it's a little bit lighter. It's semi-transparent, basically. So 50% and 25%. And then, of course, if it's 0, we're not going to get anything. Oh, 1%? I wonder if it'll do 1%. There is something there, believe it or not. It's just very, very thin. Okay, those are the main things. And also, one little tip, this guy here needs to be on when you're using the tablet, which we will do likely on week 2. And that's how we use brushes. So let's get back to our regularly scheduled videos.